Okay, so we have ingredients over here. So this is ingredients for udon noodles. So as we talk about, like udon noodles, the protein content of flour we use for udon noodles is like very lower protein content, like 8%, around like 8 to 9. And then we have water, soap water, and we have salt, relatively like big amount of salt. That's going to be dissolved in the water before I add to the flour. And we have vinegar as well. So these are the liquid, these are the solid. This is the solid ingredients. And what's different this time is that like we are making udon noodles on a ramen machine. Udon noodles in the ramen machine. And so this this ramen machine is called like Richmond One, and it has a mixer that you can mix up to like 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, and the minimum batch is 4 kilograms. So we are doing like 4 kilograms batch. But again, we talked about in the noodle making process that whether no matter like what the batch size, the ratio, the the mixing ratio, like recipe is the same. So like if you're doing 10, and if it's like the hydration ratio is like 40%, then it's the amount of liquid is 40% to the weight of the solid ingredients. So she did like she added the liquid which contains the salt and vinegar onto the lid, which has small holes, and through these small holes, like the water, like liquid, is like drip through to be added to the flour. So we add the liquid like little by little, and yeah, the mixing time, like total mix time is 5 minutes, but like it's yeah, we can't just stand here just keep watching it. So she prepared actually the dough beforehand, and so she's moving on to the next process. That's rough sheeting. So that's a kind of resting process that she did actually on this dough. So she put the dough in a plastic bag and seal it to keep it from drying, and then put it in we call like it's a cabinet that controls the temperature inside, and she put that dough into the cabinet and 28 degrees Celsius. So to make udon noodles like on this kind of machine, which is designed to do a variety of ramen noodles, which that are like less than 45% in hydration. Um, so that like you'd have to make the hydration of the udon noodles lower than well, let's say like authentic udon noodles, which are like around like 50% in hydration. And so the amount of like salt, the amount of vinegar we're adding to this dough are different. And hydration ratio we could probably do is that like we could probably do like maybe like 40% for udon that we can do on this kind of machine. And if you want to do like udon noodles, like that's kind of authentic. Authentic means like higher in hydration, so like the noodle texture is like softer, maybe like bouncier, and then the noodle size thicker. You'd have to use a udon machine to make them. But udon noodles like that are made on this machine are pretty good too. Like as long as you cut it into kind of smaller size, like so like the noodles shouldn't be too thick, because again like hydration ratio that this machine is good at doing is less than 45%, and it's like 40%, like 38%, like udon dough. That's relatively hard for udon noodles. So you shouldn't go too thick noodle size. Otherwise, again, like remember the relationship we showed like in the chart. So that's thicker. I mean, the harder the noodle texture, like thinner, you want to go to have like a good kind of balanced noodle texture. So we did the rough forming, which makes the rough sheet of dough. And next step, because the dough is like still like pretty fragile, so like we want to make it firm, like we want to make it stronger by separating it to two and combine them into one through the rollers. To make it firm. And so typically this type of dough, like basically like udon noodles, the flour used is actually has a lower ash content, so that you see that like the color, right? The color of the dough is like pretty white. It's very white, and that's just because the image we have, like the image like Japanese have for udon noodles is like has like kind of white color. It's not like kind of brown rice or like kind of dark sourdough bread or something, but it's more like it's white. So especially like people from like older generations would be weird to see like udon noodles that are kind of yellow, like darker color. So that's why the flours that are available in Japan for udon noodles have very low ash content. So we did the combining process, right? First one, and typically we do like this combining process like twice to make it firm. And again, like we talk about like gluten development, right? The gluten development is like the gluten structure is like actually growing inside dough while we do this process, the combining first one, second one, and in this doing the second combine process, we just assume that like gluten structure is being thoroughly developed, and so after this, all we have to do is just thin it to the final thickness before we cut it into the noodles. And we had to dust it. We had to dust, especially is high hydration noodles. That's very wet. sticky, so we want to dust it from a second combining process. Otherwise, the dough stick together. So what we're doing is just thin it to the final thickness. But again, like we need to make sure that we thin it gradually without damaging the gluten structure inside dough. So we want to thin it bit by bit. Okay, so that was actually 3 mm roller gap that it's gone through, but it's now the actual thickness is 3.8 mm. So there's a difference of 0.8. So the actual thickness is always bigger than the roller gap we set because the dough expands after it's gone through the roller gap. So there's a 0.8 millimeter difference. So the actual thickness is 0.8 bigger than the roller gap. So it just expands, right, by 0.8. And so this is important because we need to calculate what the roller gap we need to set to get that final thickness in the actual thickness dough. And we're using this cutter number 10, which is a 3 mm in width, right? 3 mm in width. So the width is determined by the groove in the slider cutter, groove size in the slider cutter, and the thickness is determined by the roller gap. We're gonna cut it, right? We're gonna cut it, and we're cutting the noodle sheet of dough into the noodle strands, and the length of the noodles are determined by, the length of noodle that determines the noodle serving size, and you can easily adjust the length of noodles by the volume. Volume you can make it shorter for smaller serving size, or you can make it longer for bigger serving size. So it's very easy to make udon noodles or like any types of noodles, and then like it's very easy to like control the serving size, recipes, like ingredients, and then it's very you can make like a variety of noodles like with the consistency and quality. So so that was udon noodles she made on the ramen machine, right? next, she's going to make high hydration ramen noodles on the udon machine. So the ingredients, the flour, this protein is higher than the udon flour. The protein is like 11%, right? And so we got water. These are the liquid ingredients like water, constantly salt, right? But like it's high in hydration. So again, like we put the flour to the mixer. You set the timer and you start the mixer, right? And usually mix it just with the solid ingredients for 1 minute. We call it like air rotation. And so we need to like dissolve like all these salt and consistency to the water thoroughly to make sure that before we add it to the flour. So again, we are adding the liquid. We're gonna wait. And again, the mixing time is 5 minutes in total, right? Remember, like short, the higher the hydration, the shorter the mixing time. But it's we can't just wait for 5 minutes. Just watching the mixer, right? It's boring. So we gonna go to the next process, which is pressuring a press machine. So she prepared the dough, right? In a resting cabinet, and then so we're gonna put it in a press machine to press the dough, to apply the force, right, to make it firm, to develop like gluten structure, right? We talked about it, right? Pressuring, and so this press machine basically mimics the like hand making techniques of like in old days like people would like foot step in a dough to make the dough firm, and this press machine sort of like mimics that techniques. And so it applies a lot of pressure onto the dough, but like kind of equal amount of pressure like in the entire area of the dough. And so like to make it firm, like to develop gluten structure inside. So first like you press it, right, and then make it firm, and then like we need to fold it like that to make sure like entire areas of dough gets equal amount of pressure. So that was second time of pressing. And for like production, like kind of authentic udon noodles, so we always do this pressuring process. And actually, like in Kagawa, like where like it's very the Sanuki udon is very famous, and they're like approximately like 700 to like 800 like Sanuki udon specialty shops. And actually, some of the shops actually still do this by hand, by feet. So they do it like in the old way, and then yeah, it's actually labor intensive. It takes up a lot of energy, even though like just stepping on it. But yeah, so there are a lot of like people. There are a lot of like udon shops going into the kind of machine. So we did that for 3 times, and we're gonna sheet it. We're gonna thin it, but like this dough is like too big for portion for sheeting. So we want to divide it up to smaller pieces for kind of more efficient operation of sheeting. So that the color is a bit like yellow, like compared to the udon noodles that we did, right? The dough. That's because of the kansi that's added to the dough. This makes the dough, the flour a bit yellow. And then you see the layers of dough, right? So that's the pressing, and then that gives the like really good noodle texture, and so that's very different, like from kind of this is sort of like equivalent, not equivalent, but like kind of what the combining process does on a ramen machine. But instead, like we do like kind of this pressing process on a udon noodle machine. And because this is like really, I mean, wetter dough than the dough we did like on the ramen machine. So we should apply the a lot of dusting powder to make sure that it's not gonna stick together. So we apply a lot of dusting powder, and then we want to we need to like kind of flatten it for that dough to be like kind of inserted through the bar, the safety bar that this machine has. But it takes a lot of strength actually to flatten them. So you want to use the press machine to flatten them. Just make them flat enough to be inserted underneath the like safety bar of the rollers. I think they're flat. It's flat enough. So we're going to sheet it, right? And then we're going to start from the first gear. So this gear, as we go up, right, it's going to narrow the roller gap between the two rollers. And so, again, like we're gradually thin the dough. To work to keep the like gluten structure intact. So just gradually thin it. And she's actually inserting the dough at different directions. So that dough is like being rolled, being thinned, different directions. This actually strengthens the dough, and it affects it like noodle texture as well. In the ramen machine, you can thin it only like at one direction, so that the noodle dough that's made on the ramen machine is a bit weak from the pressure like from the side. If it pulled like to the side, it may rip with a bit of like force. So, but like this dough being rolled in like in this machine, like being rolled, like being sheeted like in different directions, it's also kind of translates into texture. And yeah, it's getting like really thin, and then you may be able to like see the numbers like on display. That's actually measuring the thickness of this dough. So that's 5.4 millimeter, but like it's doubled. So she doubled the two layers of the dough sheet. So 5.4 millimeters, so like one sheet of dough is probably like about like 2.7 millimeter in thickness. Okay, so she is going to cut it. So this machine uses this different cutting system. You know, I kind of talked about it, and uses this like knife cutter that's like moving up and down onto the dough sheet that's being moved on a conveyor belt. And so the speed of conveyor belt actually determines the width of the dough. The timing that this blade cuts into the dough sheet is determined by the speed of conveyor belt that's carrying this dough sheet. So this machine is like, it's really kind of like mimics the hand making techniques of like noodle making techniques. And so that's sides down, like, so the noodles are like nicely like lined up, and so it's really thick for like ramen noodles, but like these noodles like high in hydration ratios, like, you know, that makes these noodles like soft, like bouncy, chewy. So it's very different, like noodle texture that you from like a typical like ramen noodles that are made on like a ramen machine. So they're great for types of ramen, like we talked about, like regional ramen noodles, like, you know, Sano ramen and stuff like that too, and also like dipping noodles, and of course you can use for like some other types of Chinese noodles. They're very good, and like of course like certain types of pasta noodles are like that are high in hydration.
Hello, everyone. My name is Thomas. I'm one of the instructors at the Yamato Ramen School. And today I'll be talking about high hydration noodles. So let's just go over to the board. Mentioned already, but I'm just going to briefly talk about it. High hydration noodles, you call it high hydration noodles when you have more than 40% liquid against the flour. So there's more liquid mixed into the dough compared to other type of ramen noodles or any kind of noodles. And the characteristics, high hydration noodles are soft yet chewy because there's a lot of liquid mixed into the dough. It's usually softer, but because of the gluten, it's going to still be chewy at the same time. And also, the noodle tends to be translucent. Sometimes we get the question, how to make your noodles translucent. So one of the point is to bring up the hydration level. By having more liquid mixed into the dough, the noodle becomes translucent. So that's one of the point. And lastly, high hydration noodles get soggy slower because there's already a lot of liquid mixed into the dough. There's less space. There's not for the noodle to soak up more water again. so it gets soggy slower. So that's one of the good characteristics of high hydration noodles. And high hydration noodles are suitable for thick noodles because it's soft and chewy. And they're great for hand-pressed wavy noodles. I'm going to be showing you this later on. And also udon tends to be high hydration. And also tsukemen and mazemen as well. So in general, when you want thick and chewy noodles, just go for the high hydration noodles. Okay, so now that the high hydration noodles are explained, let's just start from the first one, kama age udon. So 4 different types, 4 different ways to serve your udon. Okay, so the first type is kama age udon. So this is hot dip. Pick up the udon from hot water and dip into the sauce. So that's kama age udon. So that's the first one. And the second one is kake udon. And kake udon is hot udon in soup. Udon you. So this is the most common type of udon. And the third one on the cold side is bukkake udon. So this is cold udon with sauce. So the udon is served cold and you have sauce on side and you just pour the sauce over the udon. So that's bukkake udon. And the fourth one is zaru udon. This is cold dipping udon. So the noodle is chilled and you also have the dipping sauce on side and you just pick up that cold udon and dip into the sauce. So these are the 4 main types of udon. And today I will be showing you how to finish off this kama age udon. Okay, so let's go. So here's the udon. We've been boiling for 6 minutes. Okay. So the noodle is ready, and we're going to pick up the udon directly from the boiling water. Into the bowl. And what you want to do is you want to pick up that boiling water and just pour it into the bowl and just serve it with the udon. This keeps the udon hot. I'm just going to top it with mitsuba leaf on top. And here's the dipping sauce. It's fish stock with soy sauce. And make sure to heat this up as well. So hot udon and hot dipping sauce. And some condiments as well. So this is one of the traditional way of serving udon. And it's called kama age udon. Okay. And when you eat this kama age udon, you just pick up the udon from the hot water and just dip into sauce and you eat it. Okay. So yeah, this is great for winter during the cold season. The noodles are hot, the dipping sauce is hot as well. Makes your body hot as well, warm up your body as well. Okay. Okay, so next I want to talk about ramen, and we're going to talk about something different today, okay? Okay, so usually ramen stock is made with pork bone, chicken, vegetables, and dry seafood. That's one of the most common type of ingredients used for ramen stock. But today I'll be showing you something different. We'll be making the stock. We made the stock with fresh seafood. Okay, so many of our customers using our machine, they own a Japanese restaurant or sushi restaurant. And one of the problems with sushi restaurant is that leftover fish bone. They have a whole bunch of leftover fish bone and they end up throwing away because they fillet the salmon or red snapper and use it for sushi and sashimi, and they're going to end up with that fish bone, and they usually end up throwing it away and becomes a waste. But today I'll be showing you a way to make ramen stock out of the fish bone. And so you're going to be using every part of the fish, so it's great for less food waste, okay? And some of the common type of fish used for this fresh seafood ramen is red snapper and salmon and cod. And today I'll be using the red snapper. And let me just briefly talk about the stock making method. And first, you just fillet the fish, and you're going to end up with fish bone. And you want to roast the bone just like this. So just like you want to roast that fish bone just so that you have slight brown parts. So, and then after you roast the bone, you want to simmer the bone for 3 to 4 hours, just like this. Start simmering this stock maybe 3 to 4 hours ago. And lastly, you just want to strain the stock, and you'll have a ramen stock made out of fish, fresh seafood. Okay. And today we'll be making shio ramen and skimen out of this fresh seafood broth. So first I want to talk about the noodles. So obviously today's topic is high hydration noodles, so we'll be using high hydration noodles, ramen noodles, for this fresh seafood ramen. And like I said, I want to show you it until you have that desired waviness. Maybe 2 or 3 times should be enough. Great, sorry about that. One more time. Okay, so I'll be showing you how to hand press your noodles to make them wavy. Okay. Okay, so now that the noodles are ready, let's prepare the stock. So I'm going to strain the stock. So here's that strained stock. And let's heat this up. Okay, so while that stock is heating up, let's start boiling the noodles. Okay. These noodles should be 1.5 minutes. Okay. And make sure that boiling machine is rapidly boiling. It allows the noodle to be moving around freely for that consistent boil. Once you put the noodles in, first 5 or 10 seconds, you want to mix it up. Okay. So while the noodles are boiling, let's get the flavoring sauce and the oil ready. So here's the salt-based motodare flavoring sauce for this ramen. Just pour 1 full scoop of this salt motodare. And this is chicken oil-based flavored oil. And a scoop of this oil. And we still have a little bit more time. And let me explain the toppings. Here's a sous vide red snapper. And I'm going to torch the skin for a nice aroma. Okay. Just like this. And the noodles should be ready in 20 seconds. So I'm going to take that boiling stock and pour it into the ramen bowl. And the noodles ready. So make sure to strain out all the boiling water because this is going to dilute the soup. Okay. And pour the noodle into the soup. And you want to line up the noodles. And between the red snapper, I'm going to put sriracha citrus. And I'm going to top this in the middle. And also thinly sliced leek just above it. And for the nice red mini tomato. And also this is red snapper skin deep fried. It's nice and crunchy. It's going to give a nice texture and also a nice flavor to the ramen. Okay? And I'm going to top it with mitsuba leaf on top. And also pink pepper. And just lastly, pink pepper to finish it off. Okay, so this is how to finish off your red snapper shield ramen. Okay, next, let's move on to the skimman. So we're going to make shield skimman with that red snapper stock. Okay, and we'll be using the flat noodles, flat high hydration noodles, and these are perfect for skimman. And the boiling time should be 4 minutes. And because we're serving this noodles cold, we're boiling it for 4 minutes. If I'm serving this hot, I'm probably going to boil this for 2.5 minutes. So remember, if you're serving your noodles cold, make sure to boil the noodles 1.5 or 2 times longer than regular boiling time. Rip. So 4 minutes. Once again, mix the noodles once you put it in and start the timer. Okay, let's prepare the dipping sauce. So let's go over to the stock one more time. We'll be using this 200 milliliter ladle. And for skimman, for ramen, you usually pour the flavoring sauce and the oil into the bowl and pour the hot soup into it. But for skimman, you want to mix the flavoring sauce and oil directly in the saucepan because you want to serve it extra hot compared to ramen. Compared to ramen, skimman has less sauce, so it cools down faster. So you want to mix everything together, heat it up together to serve it extra hot. Okay, so let's heat this up. Okay, so while the dipping sauce is heating up, let's talk about toppings. So once again, we have that sous vide red snapper, and I'm going to torch the skin. Okay. And we have sudachi citrus and soft-boiled egg, menma, bamboo shoots, radish sprouts, and this is seaweed, mixed seaweed, and thinly sliced leaf, mitsuba leaf, and grilled tomato. And once again, I'm going to slide the sudachi citrus in between the red snapper, just like this. Okay. And the noodles should be ready soon. So for skimming, what you want to do is after you boil the noodles, you want to wash and chill the noodles to remove the starch around the noodles and yeah, chill the noodles. Okay. Okay, the noodle's ready. So let's put the noodle into that strainer and I'm going to wash the noodles. I'm going to do this twice. First time is to remove the starch. Second time is fully cool the noodle. Okay, throw away the water. And one more time. And this time is to chill the noodles for a nice texture. Okay, now I want to pick up the noodles. And want to use the other hand to kind of like comb the noodle to line it up nicely. Over time, just comb the noodles so that it's nicely lined up. And once the noodles are nicely lined up, what you want to do is just want to fold it up to nicely plate it onto the bowl. Okay. Okay, for the toppings, I'm going to put the mixed seaweed and the red snapper and have that sudachi in between. I'm just going to slide in this tomato as well, and egg, and menma on the side. And I'm going to top it with thinly sliced leek and mitsuba leaf on top. And the dipping sauce should be ready too. So I'm going to pour that dipping sauce into the bowl. And radish sprouts in the dipping sauce. Okay. So this is how to prepare your red snapper shield skimming. Okay. はい、うどんですね。 Okay, so we made kamage udon, shio ramen, and shield skimming with red snapper stock. For the questions we have, is it okay to freeze the dough? Okay, first of all, it's okay to freeze the dough. And also the remaining of the question is, at what part of the process is best for freezing? Okay. First of all, for ramen, I recommend freezing it after it becomes in that noodle form. So once you just complete the process in that noodle form, freeze the dough, freeze the noodles. Okay. For udon, you can freeze the dough when it's at that block state, right after the second aging. When you have that block of dough, you can freeze them and you can defrost it and thin it out to make it into noodles. Or you can also freeze it after becoming into noodle strands. Okay? So it's okay to freeze them. And the second question, what's the function of the vinegar? Okay, so for udon, we usually put in 1% vinegar against the flour. That's to prevent the, that's to control the aging. Okay? Because without the vinegar, the aging might go too fast and end up spoiling the dough. So we put the vinegar in to bring down the, just make it slightly acidic to make it control the aging process.